Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you for another Film Fanatic show. Hope everyone's doing good. So it's Sunday at about 10:14. Another beautiful day. The weather's been pretty amazing. We were supposed to have a lot of rain this week or weekend, and we did get quite a bit of rain, but it was like at night, late, or like in the morning. So it didn't ruin the day's activities too much. But beautiful weather. It's been super hot still, and we are almost approaching the middle of August already, which is crazy. School, I I work part time at the Montessori school, and they we just got done finishing up the summer camps, and I work there during the summer, and I actually work more during the summer at the school than I do during the school year, and so I worked this was my second summer, and we just had the last day of the summer session on Friday, and so I'm on break for a couple weeks, but school actually starts in 2 weeks, which is crazy. So yeah, so I'm back to my regular schedule, and so it will be a lot easier for me to record videos. In the past, I typically, for a long time, I've always done pretty much, I've recorded a movie review or some kind of show every morning, and then I post it, that day or whatnot. And so back to that regular schedule, I haven't been able to do the videos the same schedule. My schedule is very different during the summer, so I have a lot less time, usually in the mornings, especially. But now I'm back to that schedule, so I'm pretty excited. And I'm going to be going up to Bull Moose probably. I think I'm going to go up tomorrow, definitely this week because I have a bunch of time off. So very excited about buying some new movies. I recently went up to Bull Moose a couple of weeks ago, and they redid the entire store. It's as far as being a movie collector, it's amazing because I was thinking, you know, with the digital age that we live in, with everything available in its streaming format, that I noticed in certain shops, particularly in certain Bull Moose locations, my favorite place to go and buy movies, I used to always go to the one in Waterville, which is about an hour away. And I noticed when things were starting to shift further and further that the stuff that they were selling, the content, because when I go there, I try to only buy, I mean, I buy other movies too, but I try to focus on buying all things exploitation. That's my favorite genre, so I try to really, I've been trying to really beef up that part of my collection, and so that's been my main focus as far as being a collector and just being a fan of films. I still love quote unquote normal Hollywood movies, if you want to call it that, but I love that genre so much, and so I've been focusing for a few years now on beefing that whole, you know, that that genre. I've been just focusing on just getting as many titles as I can get. And I noticed that their titles in that world were just dwindling down, and there was less and less. And I stopped going there basically, and then I started going to the Bangor Bull Moose, and they have an amazing assortment of exploitation movies. So that's where I've been going. But then I went to Waterville because I had a gig up there, and the gig was done on, like early, like 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. So I decided to go over and check it out, and I was blown away. They redid everything, and they have three or four times the amount of titles. Now they have these sections that are called boutique labels, boutique labels and that's like basically they showcase all of the labels that put out all of these exploitation movies. You know, Severin, Blue Underground, Mondo Macabra, Arrow, just all the great labels that exist now. And now what I noticed the last time I was up there is they have, if you say, for example, Severin, which is one of the biggest labels out there, they have like virtually all of their movies out on display. The same with like Mondo Macabra or Canon, or Canon is another one that put out a lot of movies in the '80s, all the real super cheesy ninja movies with Sho Kosugi, and so I was blown away. So I ended up spending. I thought I was going to be in and out of there because they only have a few titles. They have a real limited selection of those movies, but ended up being just incredible. So I was in there for a couple hours. So I'm going to go up there this week. I'm super excited to see what else I can find. But in the meantime, there's always movies I really, really want to talk about and get to. And again, I love all kinds of movies. And so I, want to keep the train going and talk about movies, as much as I can. So today's show is on a movie I've actually loved for a very, very long time. I do not have it on Blu-ray, which is kind of criminal when I think about it because I think it's one of the best, uh, you know, action movies from the '80s and '90s. It's one of my. It stars Kurt Russell, and that is Soldier. This movie is so badass. It's I don't know. I've heard this movie kind of compared to, and even actually in one of the reviews for this movie that I saw, and it's actually on this DVD. It's kind of like Death Wish, but in space. It's a revenge movie, and it stars Kurt Russell, the immortal Kurt Russell, one of the greatest action stars ever. One of my favorite actors, just so iconic. And this is one of his best action movies. This is such a killer sci-fi movie, and I never hear this movie ever talked about. I have a DVD copy of it, but this is a really good copy of this movie. This was actually this is a really old copy of this movie. I bought this. This was one of my first DVDs that I bought. When I was in college, before I got into college, I was into movies quite a bit. And I, really, really loved movies before I got into college. But then when I got out of college, I had a couple of friends around that time that really got me into film. And so when I got out of college, I started buying movies like crazy. It was right when the DVD craze was huge. And this was one of the first DVDs that I bought. And I've seen this movie so many times. I haven't actually watched it in a long time. And I never upgraded it, but I need to because this is definitely visually it's a stunning movie, and just incredible. The action in this film is just incredible. It's an old school movie by now too. It's kind of hilarious. Came out in 1998. By today's standards, it's close to 30 years ago. It's kind of crazy. It came out the same year that I believe The Matrix came out, which is nuts. This movie was really, really. I don't remember this movie getting any big praise when it came out. I think when The Matrix came out, of course, The Matrix being, arguably in some ways the greatest action movie ever made. Um, I think obviously when that movie came out, because it was a tidal wave of a film, I mean, it just leveled everything and it changed everything in cinema. Rightfully so. I mean, it's a masterpiece. But I think a lot of movies that came out during that time, especially action movies, were overshadowed by the power of the Matrix. And I think it might be safe to say that Soldier was one of those movies because it didn't really, get the acclaim that I never that I that I had heard that I felt it always deserved. and I never really hear people talk about it. It was directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, who is a pretty well-known action sci-fi horror director. He, of course, directed the Resident Evil movies, the first three or four movies, I believe. He also directed Event Horizon, which I think is a an amazing film. I think it might be his best movie aside, or but I have to also include Soldier as being one of his best movies, if not his best movie. But Event Horizon is an amazing film. I have that on Blu-ray. I have a really great Blu-ray edition of that. It's a collector's edition. Um, he's he was a very, or he's still active. He is a very he was a pretty acclaimed director. He did the Death Race um, reboot or reimagining with Jason Statham, which was originally the Roger Corman film, which I've never seen. I love the original so much. Um, but in the 90s, especially, Paul W.S. Anderson was, a very prolific action director, but he's probably most well known for the Resident Evil films. The Event Horizon was also another film of his that I believe got a lot of attention, and I remember seeing that movie in the theater, and that's an amazing film. I I think I've done a show. I'm not sure if I've done a show on it. I think I did. But anyway, I think, Soldier is one of those movies that deserves to get talked about more. I think it's, just an incredible film. Of course, Kurt Russell. It also stars Jason Scott, who played Bruce Lee in the Bruce Lee biopic, which is actually a super incredible film. I think the most accurate portrayal of Bruce Lee and his life. Connie Nielsen's also in this, an incredible, iconic actress. She was in Gladiator, Devil's Advocate, just fantastic. Jason Isaacs, another fantastic actor who I believe was also in Event Horizon. Killer movie, amazing action. It's super gory, it's super violent. If you love like really big sci-fi spectacle, this movie is that movie. Definitely need to get it on Blu-ray. So I will probably in my travels look for it on Blu-ray. I've only seen it. I didn't get a chance to see Soldier in the theater, but I did see it. Basically, I rented it and then I bought this copy of it shortly after I had seen it. But it's hard to believe it's '98. But it's one of the best. It's one of my favorite Kurt Russell films. Probably my favorite Kurt Russell films would be obviously Escape from New York. Probably The Thing would be the other one, but I think Soldier is right up there. I mean, it's a killer movie. It's a movie that I feel does not get anywhere anywhere near the acclaim that it needs to that it deserves or deserved at that time. Usually, when it comes to Kurt Russell, people mostly talk about him being Snake Plissken in the Escape from New York movie, which, masterpiece. And then also The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, which I think is probably the best movie that John Carpenter's ever directed. And it's, one of the greatest roles of Kurt Russell's career. But I think Soldier is right up there, but I never hear, those two movies always get talked about and referenced. But you never hear Soldier talked about. And I just think it's super awesome and one of the best action sci-fi movies ever made. So definitely check it out. I'm gonna be, in my travels, I will definitely try to get it on Blu-ray. I'm sure it definitely exists. I've never actually even tried looking for it. So yeah, definitely check it out. It's an amazing sci-fi epic. So thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.